Welcome back to the Fear and Beer podcast,
where we discuss all things Halloween Horror Nights, horror movies, and just a little bit of beer.
So kill the lights, grab a cold one, and join us as we dive into this mad world we love.
I'm Nick.
I'm Seamus.
And I'm Jamie.
Like scary movies.
Here's Johnny.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
You miss me.
Aren't you drinking?
I never drink. Why?
And as a reminder to all listening, if you want to help us to continue growing as a podcast, don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on whichever streaming platform you use.
To stay up to date with us and all of our episodes, be sure to follow all of our socials. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Fear and Beer Pod.
Feel free to reach out to us. We love to interact with you all.
HHN season is officially over. And that brings us right into the awards season. The third annual Fear and Beer HHN Awards, where we look back at the year and reminisce of all the moments we miss, all the food we wish we didn't eat, and all the houses that didn't quite hit the mark. We are going to look back. We're going to award some awards. We have some guest call-ins and guest announcers, and we are going to have a grand old time. We are not dressed up this year. We are doing this remote still because I am in a normal t-shirt. But we are dressed up in spirit, and we are dressed up in thoughts.
I don't know about you. I'm wearing a sports coat, so.
Well, here we are. We are here for our HHN Awards show. Let's kick this thing off. So we have a whole bunch of stuff. We did our listeners awards this year. We have some call-ins, like I said. We have a whole bunch of stuff to get to. This is a little bit of a different episode. We don't have as much of a strict guideline, simply just handing these things out. Handing them out to nobody, because nobody is going to come receive these. These aren't going to be honored in any way other than us on this podcast. And these are strictly our own thoughts. So if you have a different award, well, make your own show. Give it out. Tell a friend. Do all that fun stuff. But of course, it is me, Seamus, and Jamie handing out these virtual awards. So I guess we'll get into it. Jamie, I don't think you grabbed a beer. I am currently still in my no beer November kind of thing. I know it kind of defeats the purpose of Fear and Beer. I will bring the fear. The beer is just going to wait a little bit because I'm still trying to shed all of my Horror Nights weight. No more beer, no fast food, no garbage. And I've melted off weight since the event. So I think I'm down about 10 or 15 pounds since the event ended because that's how much bullshit I was consuming. But yeah, a good little refresh in November, I think, is warranted. I think it's healthy. And I'm just going to enjoy nice cold water today. That sounds just ever so appetizing. It has a 0.0%. It's a 0 IBU. The color is very, very translucent. And it tastes about just as bad as Florida water can taste. So, Seamus, I know you grabbed a beer, but are you going with All Reliable for the award ceremony?
Oh,
breaking out that
yeah,
champagne?
come on now. Come on. I
Hall?
don't have any money for real beer. So I am drinking the good old Coors Light.
The Silver Award,
Cheers.
They would say.
Yes. Yeah, I'm perpetually in second place, so that's why I drink the silver bottle.
You're in first place of beers on this.
Well,
on this
good. I hope so.
This week.
I hope so.
Jamie, I'm assuming nothing.
No, not for me, but I am drinking Tazo Passion Tea on this gloomy, rainy night to relax me for these awards. Also kind of on the same train as you, Nick. I did enough drinking in September and October for probably the rest of the year, so I'm probably waiting.
Yeah, I'm not going to go that far, but just a little bit of time to cut some of that out. Get rid of some of the garbage, but
right.
Let's just get to it. Let's jump into these. So let's start with our listeners' awards. We put out a little survey thing, little 10 questions, little fill in the blank kind of deal. And we got some really good answers. Of course, some of them were a little bit lopsided, but some of them were very, very close. So I guess we'll just start out from the bottom and we'll work our way up, and I will announce these as our listeners' awards. So thank you to everybody who voted. Voice your opinion. Hopefully some of the people in these Scare Zones houses can hear this and feel the gratitude from the community, because it is a fun time this award season. So scariest house, we asked the listeners what they thought their scariest house of the year was, And I don't know. I mean, did this one surprise any of you? Because it did not surprise me.
No, it did not surprise me either.
No, it didn't
actually.
surprise me.
I'm kind of glad that everyone collectively from the outside thought the same too.
With a fairly landslide victory, taking home the listener's scariest house is The Exorcist. Believer.
Woo!
You better believe it. That is one scary house. Jamie, would you like to give away the next award? And I can kind of explain it if you don't understand which one actually won, because I just kind of grouped all of the people in that little room.
Yeah.
That award.
So the way that you have it listed, which award are we going for next? Because in the one that you sent us in the group, the scariest house was the last award to be announced.
Yeah, so go from the bottom up.
Go from the bottom up. Okay. So the best scare in a house award. And this one is going to go to the Darkest Deal Cemetery. So by best scare in a house, how do you mean by that?
So I had a lot of different answers.
Right.
And a lot of them were similar in that room. We had a couple people vote for the little Russian doll style scare. We had the trumpet person scare. And I figured since they were just in that one little room, I figured I'd commemorate that room as a whole, because a lot of the other votes were very singular. There was like 3 or 4 for like the same people, but this one consistently had people voting for this one. There was a lot of variety of answers for this one. Mm-hmm. But since they were all kind of right there, I kind of view that as all one sort of pinball scare. Mm-hmm. So that's why I decided to kind of just, I'd say the room took it. The room with those 3 characters that would kind of get you on the way in.
Gotcha. I promise my next award announcement will be much more professional.
Yeah, you got to step it up.
I do. I got to get the
Oscars of the HHN.
Right. The Dundies.
Essentially the Dundies.
Of HHN.
Seamus, do you want to tackle the next one?
Sure. This one is the best drink, which I actually kind of abstained from even voting on this. So, because I really can't give you a whole lot because I didn't drink a whole lot at the event. But this one was pretty close. The winner goes to the Lacto Cooler. I forget, it's a sour, right? It's a sour beer. Yeah. It's pretty well known at this point. It's like 2 years in a row they've had it. I'm actually kind of surprised it won the vote, just because I feel like there was enough unique variety that maybe something else would sneak up, but I guess not. But in a close second, it was the Surfer Boy. And then a close third was the coffee drink. I forget the name of it, but it
was like
all really close. Coffee. Yeah, there you go. So it was all within one vote of each other. So Lacto Cooler won, but not by much.
The people love it. That's for sure. The people love the Lacto Cooler. I did not have it as much as I had the previous year. I really liked it. I still enjoy it. But again, it got to that point where I'm getting old. Sours are not, unless I'm like at home just relaxing. I do enjoy my sours. But if I'm out drinking multiple beers, the Lacto Cooler is probably not going to be on the top of the list, especially sours, just if I'm trying to get a couple of them, because that heartburn is no joke. It just adds up too much. So moving right along, we'll kind of stick in the same vein. This is still from our listeners' awards, and we asked for the best food item. And this one was a little bit closer as well, but the winner taking it home would be the walking taco. One that I only got once. I only got it once because personally,
very surprising.
Yeah, I really was hyping this one up, and really surprisingly, I only got it once. I just thought when I had it that one time, it was kind of fine, but it was just missing. I needed some spice to it. I needed some sauce, and it was just a little bit on the dry side, but maybe other people snuck in some Tabasco sauce bottles or something and spiced up the life a little bit. But yeah, it was close. The peanut butter burger was actually second, pretty close, and that was like coming into the event. I thought it was going to be more gimmicky than it was, but I think it worked out in their favor. People tended to actually eat that as a burger, not just a novelty item. So I mean, I'm sure we'll see some sort of iteration of that next year, being that we had the Crazy Chucky burger and then we had the peanut butter burger, and I'm sure next year we'll get a little something, because I mean, burgers and theme parks kind of go hand in hand. So if you can just throw some random crap on there and sling it to all those people that are drinking, it's probably going to sell. It clearly did sell. It won the hearts of the listeners. That's for sure. Jamie, this is a big one. Want to tackle that next one for us?
Yeah, I've been thinking exactly how I'm going to say it too. So I'm excited.
Perfect. You know what? I'm just going to have Seamus do this one. I'll give you another one.
No. All right. So your nominees for Best Original House: The Darkest Deal, Blood Moon, Yeti, Dr. Oddfellow, Dueling Dragons. And I'm missing one more. What am I missing? I already messed it up. I said Yeti. Okay, so maybe I didn't miss it then.
Oh, you're just going to announce all of the houses?
Yeah,
all the original houses?
Those are the nominees.
You're right. They are.
And the winner for Best Original House, with a whopping 18 points in total, 18 votes, was The Darkest Deal.
That one ran away with it a little bit more than I.
It did. I'm surprised. Yeah, not surprised. It was a great house, but I thought Blood Moon was going to take it on this one. I really did.
Judging by everything I was seeing being bandied about online, Darkest Deal seemed to be the favorite amongst most. But
it was a great house.
It definitely was a consensus little darling of the event. That's for sure. So Seamus, want to jump up to that next one? Because this is another big one. But this one, if you told me this is what was going to happen at the end of the season, at the beginning of the season, I would not have believed you.
No, yeah, this is surprising. So the next award from the audience is the Best IP Award. And this goes to, surprisingly enough, walking away with its second award so far tonight, The Exorcist House. And it wasn't close. A second place behind that was Stranger Things, but that was by a whopping 10 votes. So, wow. I can't disagree that this wasn't the best IP, I can't disagree with the audience that this was the best IP house of the year. It really did kind of blow everybody away. I think the expectations were kind of low, and it exceeded them by a lot. So totally want to side with the audience on this one. I think that Exorcist is probably the best IP of the year, and kind of expected Stranger Things to have maybe keep it a little closer, just because there's a lot of Stranger Things fans out there. And like Nick was just saying, we all kind of just assumed that this was going to be like the runaway IP. And supposedly not a single vote for The Last of Us. So no shade at The Last of Us, but
I think it got a couple votes, but I just didn't tally them because I knew it wasn't. So these weren't
so we just made a couple people angry. Sorry, everybody. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, so these weren't all the votes. These were just kind of the top ones that I was seeing, so I was tallying up.
I got you.
So let's move to the best scare actor in a scare zone. This one, again, was one that was very tight, and there was a lot of variety. It's tough when you ask one of these open-ended questions because you get there's so many characters. Who do you pick from? Who do you choose? And a couple people, threw out some random names. Some people put very specific names. I was like, well, you only put their name once, so I don't know who that is. But regardless, a very tight race. Number one with the best scare actor in a scare zone goes to the Dr. Oddfellow in his own scare zone, the mic'd up Dr. Oddfellow who would have all those amazing guest interactions. This was followed very closely by the now named Bat Trisha, the little bat stilt person over in Shipyard 32, because this was also a fan favorite of the event. People were always up there getting pictures with them. Definitely one of the strong points of Shipyard 32. And yeah, they definitely put up a strong fight, and it's tough. I mean, you're going against the icon of the year in his own zone with a hot mic. The fact that it was this close by one vote, that was what it was decided. So very, very tight race for that one. But again, the listeners like the Oddfellow, as we do. But Jamie, want to tackle that next one for us?
Yeah, so our next up award that we have is the Best Scare Actor in a House Award. And this one actually had a tie for first and second place. it looks like taking first place was the bear from Yeti, which is no surprise there. The bear is an absolute icon of HHN for us. And coming in second not coming in second, also coming in first was the Bungee Hunchback in Universal Monsters Unmasked.
Yeah, this is like everyone gets an award. No, I'm just kidding. We're not going to tie everything. This one was an actual tie, and then the second place was an actual tie as well. If you want to give some love to those people as well, because
I was just going to say
those were right up there.
Yeah, for sure. So coming in second for our tie would be the possessed girl in the Exorcist room, sitting in the chair. Absolutely iconic. Don't know how you did it. Still to this day, thought it was a fake person, but it wasn't, because the last night on the last run that I did through of The Exorcist, I was looking real hard, and she looked back at me, and I said, "Oh, I guess you're not fake. You're a real person." And coming also tied up with that is the Darkest Deal demons, which were also absolutely great. I just love their design.
Yeah, I love the I am everywhere. that one always got me.
Yes.
Knew they were there every single time. Didn't matter.
Still gets me.
So Seamus, you get to tackle this next one, because this is a big one. We're on to our last two of the Listeners Awards.
All right, so we're down to the Listeners' Best Scare Zone Award. What did they vote? I don't think it surprises anybody, but with a runaway victory, it goes to Vamp 69, with Dark Zodiac pulling up the silver in second, but it was by 11 votes, or maybe 9 votes, sorry. So I guess closer than it first appeared, but I think it's pretty safe to say that the majority of the community was down for the Vamp, really had a good time with this one, and it shows. Just in the vote. But yeah, I'm interested to know if any other scare zones got votes. Did Jungle pull any votes, or was it pretty much Vamp and Zodiac?
Jungle pulled a good amount as well, but it was I think Jungle would have been third, and then Oddfellow fourth, and
that
then
doesn't surprise me.
fifth. I think it was pretty along the lines of our rankings was how the votes kind of came in.
Kind of figured.
All right, let's pull up the rear on these listener awards. So Best House. This one was a little bit tighter than I thought, and I was a little bit surprised with the top 3. So we'll go with the top 3 that we have listed out there. So coming in third for Best House based from the listeners would be Dr. Oddfellows. That was third place. Had a lot of love in the
that's crazy.
in the survey. Number 2 with a tight, narrow victory over Dr. Oddfellow, and that would be Universal Monsters Unmasked. That took second place. A lot of monster love. And then taking the gold, taking our imaginary little golden trophy of Jack or whatever, would be the Darkest Deal. That is just the runaway. I mean, this thing, it was a lot closer than I thought, but consensus-wise, just from what I've seen online, the Darkest Deal is just like I said. That one's everybody's little darling. That's the little house that could. That's the first one that we saw on the spec map. That's the first rumor that really strongly came out, and it lasted all the way through spec season, rumor season, confirmation season, and it made it all the way through HHN season. And it is just, I mean, that's one for the ages, that's for sure. So those were our listener awards. So if you participated in those, thank you very much. We always have a fun time with these awards, but I also enjoy seeing what everybody else has to say about stuff too, to see if they sort of align with our thoughts and similarity and stuff like that.
I mean, all it does is prove to me that I clearly do not think like most of the community. And I know that, they're here just to shit on my picks. So I'm sorry, everybody, but you surprised me, the few of them.
Yeah, there's a couple in there that were surprising, but let's get into the other awards now, shall we? Our awards, the Fear and Beer Awards. So we might as well just kick these off with a couple fun ones, because I feel like these superlative fun ones are they're always some of my favorites. And I definitely came up with these not 30 minutes before the show. That's for sure.
He's lying. He did
not do that. I prepared like a very productive, responsible podcaster. That's what I do.
We rolled this podcast like we did like we do with tests in high school. We just showed up on the day of and hammered out a solid C.
Just wing it. That's all you need. C's good degrees.
Yep, exactly.
Oh boy! All right. To no surprise,
I know
we're
we're not speaking for Jamie. I get it.
I think she's probably in those lines as well. So, the 6 to Midnight Award, aka
Explain this one to me.
the Horny Award,
now I get it.
goes to. I mean, what else would it go to?
I'm so stupid.
What else would it go to? It would be Nightmare Fuel. This thing, as long as it's here, it's going to be winning this award. Boink. That's what's going to happen every single time.
So to those that listen to us and actually work the show, yeah, that's the award we called it.
Yep, the 6 to Midnight. You got it. Come up and get your nice little trophy. Not phallic shaped at all.
Not that type of trophy either.
Yeah. Come on down.
Oh my god,
award.
That's so funny. Took me a minute to get that because I am a silly little boy.
You guys are kidding.
Jamie,
I had nothing to do with this, Jamie.
Oh, you silly gooses.
Jamie, you were present for this next award, so I'll let you kind of give it out as a spectator, so you can give it out.
Yeah,
but it was definitely based off of one of my decisions.
So, the Best Worst Decision Award goes to getting 6 Carnival hot dogs, which included Nick, Duck from HHN365, our friend Pete, and a few others as well.
Duff did not want to partake in the
no,
hot
Duff
dogs.
didn't eat it. I forgot he didn't eat it. He's smart.
No, he ducked out of the hot dog marathon. But yeah, we figured instead of taking, well, no, this was after a couple shots, but maybe in lieu of another round of shots, we did a round of hot dogs. We got 6 Carnival hot dogs. It was great.
Sure
we cheers
did.
them, and then our buddy John dropped his entire hot dog on the ground, and I told him to eat it, and he did.
Oh my god, I was impressed. I must have loved when that happened.
Picked that dirty wiener off the ground and put it in his mouth.
Wow,
Oh, man.
Like a champ.
I mean, to be fair, story time with Seamus. I have eaten a pretzel bite that fell on the floor of a Buffalo Wild Wings. So I am no better.
It happens to the best of us.
It happens to the best of us. You know what? Hey, it's Horror Nights. You know, what stays at Horror Nights will not necessarily stay at Horror Nights, but or what happens at Horror Nights will not necessarily stay at Horror Nights.
Oh yeah, that stuff probably got left. I think a lot of the Carnival hot dogs got left at Horror Nights in one way or the other.
Oh well, that's true too. I guess. Good point.
Whether in a queue line or in a bathroom.
Donated back to the Orlando septic system.
Yep.
In some way or shape or form. Not to make everybody grossed out or anything, but you know.
Well, these are where these awards go. You know, that's just how it's going to be. So, Seamus, do you want to give out that next award?
Yeah, you're gonna help me. You're gonna help me just understand what this award is. But it's the We Hardly Knew Ya award, and it goes to the original Krampus house. Congratulations. I don't know what this means, so Nick, you're gonna have to kind of walk me through what this award is. But congratulations, Krampus.
Like 10
so
minutes
this
ago.
goes all the way back to original spec season, and this was on the version 1 of the Horror Night Nightmare speculation. We were going to supposedly be getting an original Krampus based house.
I forgot about that. You're right. Good
What that
point.
was based off of, who knows? But man, we hardly knew ya. Wish I got to see ya. Maybe in another life. But yeah, that's what that award goes to. Maybe we'll keep that one around for next year, because there's always going to be some stuff on that spec 1 that we just aren't going to get to see, but we'll pique our interest. I would say runner-up would have been the little Japanese logos, which everyone was kind of banking on it being some sort of Japanese creature style house. So that would have been a really cool one too. So, you know, why don't you guys both come up here and accept your awards? No, nobody's accepting. God damn it, monsters. Stupid Krampus. All right. The Dead Man's I Miss You Already award, because that set was just something else. This one I had to give out to a very similar vibe. Just another area that I love and I miss so dearly already. And that would be Parish Town Blood Moon. I miss you like I missed Dead Man's Pier. That was just, when I walked in, when you see the widow playing her violin, I still miss it to this day. And I think Blood Moon is going to have that same feeling where I miss walking in and seeing the town. I miss the little children just frolicking, playing with their beautiful little intestine pole. I'm going to miss the little candle room. I'm going to miss all the pews and that church choir. I'm going to miss the executioner bell toll man. I'm just going to miss it all. But yeah, the Dead Man's I Miss You Already award. I don't know. I know, Seamus, you really like that house, so I figured that
I love that house.
Kind of be right up there with you as well.
I kind of thought this was like throw a little bit of shade at it, because it's like, Dead Man's I Already Miss You, because doesn't live up to it, but it's okay. Now that you explained it, I'm like, all right, okay, I'll accept that. It's fine. I'll accept on behalf of Blood Moon.
There we go. All right, and it looks like we have our first guest announcer. So
our guest announcer. Woo! Let's go.
Do this up for you guys, and we'll be good to go.
Hey there, guys. This is HHN365. This is me, Jonathan, and I'm here with Mike.
Jonathan, what do you think of my David S. Pumpkins suit? I know it's a podcast, but I decided to get dressed up for the occasion.
It's wonderful. It fits perfectly.
I got it tailored.
That's great. That's amazing. But we have an important job to do today, Mike.
We do.
Yes, we have to introduce the winner of the Swing and a Miss Award. Now, Mike, before we say what the winner is, do you have any ideas, like anything you would think that are like this year that, some swings and misses?
Well, I'm the expert on swinging, so I don't know. I'm gonna save that up to Fear and Beer to it.
Okay. All right. Let's open the envelope here that I have in my hand, the real envelope. And the winner for the Swing and a Miss Award is Chucky Ultimate Kill Counts.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, not a big surprise at all. It's funny that this one happened magically to land on me saying it, because I've been very adamant about my opinions on this house. So I think this award is very warranted for this particular house, based on one of my favorite characters of all time.
They tried something, it didn't work. Swing and a miss. It fits.
Exactly. Thank you, Fear and Beer, for allowing us to give out this fantastic award to Mr. Charles Lee Ray. And let's continue.
Well, thank you, Jonathan and Mike. Yes, I specifically requested that Jonathan announce this award. Jonathan is a very well-renowned Chucky lover. I believe this was one of his more hyped houses going into the season, and I know that it just fell short for him as well. And if a Chucky lover is not in on the house, I would say that they definitely missed the mark on that house. A swing and a miss indeed. But that will wrap up sort of our superlative style stuff. Now we can get into like the real meat and potatoes of this thing, where we can kind of announce the actual some other stuff. So Jamie, do you want to announce the next one that we have?
Yeah, so for our next award, we have the best merch item, and the winner goes to the Oddfellow Scare Zone shirt, which is also not surprising.
Come on, shirt. Come up here and take your award.
Yeah. It's kind of
we have Mr. Shirt walking all the way up here.
It's kind of a hard award to really pick.
From Fruit of Loom.
To be fair, if we're putting it out there, I voted for the Studio Screamers, but I guess everyone really liked the shirt. That's fine too.
I may have abstained from this vote too. I don't remember, to be honest with you.
If the Scare Zone shirts came in mystery packs, you would have voted for that. If anything comes in a mystery pack, you're going to vote for it. So
I mean,
I love me a good mystery. I really do.
I mean, to be honest, and not joking about something for 5 minutes, I think the merch was a little weak this year. There really wasn't that one like T-shirt, for example, that like everybody had to have. I think they all did. They were all fine for what they were and for what we got, but there was nothing that like really kind of made me want to break the bank. You know what I mean? Like some years where you go and there's just stuff that you're like, man, I'm going to spend way too much money. This year, there really wasn't a whole lot of things that were like, man, I need that. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, again, this is a deserving award. I like this shirt. It's one of the two that I bought. This one and the house shirt. But other than that, yeah, there really wasn't much else out there that I was like, yeah, I think that one definitely deserves some sort of recognition.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. The house shirt I really enjoyed, but I still am just so in love with the one from last year. I loved the little like skeleton guy and that style. So it was hard to kind of have that followed up. We'll probably switch up the order a little bit because I know that I like the next one, and Seamus, I know you like the one after that. So I think that's probably a better order. And we're going to do the best drink award. And I pretty much did this. So I did branch out into other than beers this year. I had a lot of beer for sure. Hence the no beer November that's going on currently. And I'm not counting down the days. But I did enjoy a lot of the other cocktails. I had a good amount of them, but this one in particular, and maybe it's because I needed it to help me get through the night, but I constantly went back to the well on this one. And that would be, for me, was the Salt Lake City iced coffee. Now, again, I think I said it going into the season. If you see me at midnight, I'm probably going to be in line getting one of these things. And that's typically what ended up happening. I went into the well a lot on these coffees. And not only that, but it did taste good. It had a sweetness to it. It did have, I guess, more people probably wouldn't have enjoyed it, but I enjoyed that it changed consistency, which is never a good thing. You want to have a recipe that's constant. But there were times where I got it and it tasted more bitter coffee style. And there was more times I got it and it was more sweet iced coffee style. And I don't care either way. I enjoy both. I enjoy the taste of coffee and I enjoy the taste of sweet coffee and cocktails and stuff like that. So for me, it didn't hurt it, but for most people that maybe enjoyed it on the sweeter side and when they got a bitter style, it was like not great. Not a good operational standpoint thing where your drinks are inconsistent, but when they're mass batched for 2 months, you can expect that to happen. So it didn't hurt it for me, but yeah, that was my favorite drink that I had. Jamie, you were probably the other one that actually had some other drinks. So is there like a secondary drink that you would like to award a little silver medal?
I definitely would love to award a silver medal.
A syphilis medal to the...
You know what? I don't think I was made for stardom. I could never be an announcer for an award show.
They're not calling you for the Oscars.
They're definitely not calling me for the Oscars. But yeah, the silver medal definitely goes to the Crimson Sin Cider. You know what? That's probably
I thought you were going to pick another cocktail.
No, not another cocktail. That's all I had was the beers. Listen, everyone else drinks. Well, I was just going to say so
you like the gummy stuff.
I was just going to say the silver medal for cocktail, if we're going with it then to go along the cocktail train, was the Survivor's Fizz from the Peacock Bar. That was actually really tasty. I had that a couple times. It had little gummy watermelons inside of it, which were really tasty. And then I think it had like a cantaloupe puree or like a cantaloupe like flavoring to it. And I love cantaloupe, and I feel like you don't see that in drinks a lot. So that was actually really tasty. It was a little bitter, wasn't too sweet. It was really nice.
Yeah. No, it definitely was. That's where I thought you were going to go with it originally, because you had that a couple times. I
did have it a couple times, but I really liked the beer this year. And I'm usually more of a cocktail gal than a beer drinker, but I really like that cider.
Yeah. All right, Seamus, would you like to tackle this next one?
Yeah. So the best food item, as said by Fear and Beer. We had quite a bit. I think between the three of us, we all had a lot of what was available this year. I mean, there were probably a couple things that we didn't have collectively, but this was one item that we all had. I know that for a fact, and we all thought it was wonderful in either version of it that you got. And that has to go to the I don't know the actual name of it, but the poutine dish.
Yep.
From the I forget what themed restaurant it is.
Poutine, I think.
Yeah, yes, the campground the campground one.
Campground.
Yep. So there's two versions. There were two versions of it. There was a vegan option and there was a regular old meat option, as you know, for us meat eaters. But we all sung its praises. I think that either version, it was really, 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 really good. You got a ton of food with it. The potatoes were substantial. Plus, you know, whether you got the sausage or the vegan option, the fake sausage, either
Sausage.
one, they were pretty substantial portions. So it wasn't like you were getting something and not getting a ton of food, but it tasted awesome. The gravy was great. It was warm. It didn't come out super like, you know, lukewarm or anything like that. It was really good, well made, and I love poutine, so I was excited to give it a shot. I was worried that it wasn't going to be that good, live up to expectations. Obviously it's not going to be like poutine you're getting from actual Canada, but either way, it was really good for what it was, and probably the best food option, at least as far as I'm concerned, at the event this year. So that's the one we're going to go with. Do you guys have any other items that would come in second?
Oh man, I loved the poutine. I mean, I feel like it's a little bit of a cheat to give it to the pizza skulls because I do love those.
Yes, that is a cheat. That doesn't count.
I really did enjoy the. I did enjoy the hot dog. I don't care.
I know you did. I know you did. When you had that first time, you were like, your face lit up. You were like a kid in the candy shop. You're like, this is exactly what Nick wants.
I think that was my most purchased food item. I do.
Yeah, exactly. So
disgusting.
It does not surprise me at all that you liked it, which, I mean, it is kind of funny because like the burger last year was clearly a mistake and no one should have eaten it. But the hot dog, like you said, it actually wasn't that bad.
It was a perfect car crash of
It's
sweetness.
Exactly what you expect from a theme park themed like thing. You know what I'm saying? Like a Horror Nights, like it's what you expect from like a Horror Nights food item. You don't want the safe options. You want the weird, nasty, could potentially kill you food, because it's kind of like going to a carnival. Like you don't go to a carnival and eat all the fried food for nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but
it's not for health purposes. I
will
can go get raviolis anywhere.
I think much like the pizza skulls, for me, another one that could be a second, but it might be cheating a little bit, is the deep fried Oreos. They're really hard to mess up, and Universal does some awesome deep fried Oreos. So if you ever get a chance to have them again at some point in the near future, they are really, really good.
Those delectable little treats. Jamie, what's another item that really stood out to you this year?
I'm sad that I kind of tried it more towards the end of the event in the last couple of weeks, but the infected twisted tater was actually really good. So this wasn't the corn dog, not the corn dog, because I couldn't eat that one because it had the hot dog in it, but the infected tater had the porcini mushroom powder, and then it had like the truffle aioli on top of it. And let me tell you, those people are heavy-handed on that truffle sauce, and I loved it. And the mushroom powder was really good too. The only thing I gotta say is I feel like they were a little skimpy on the twisted taters this year. I don't know if maybe there's like a potato, like what is it? A famine? Potato famine?
We're gonna go through the old.
No. We're not gonna do that because potato famine. It's not quite the same deal, but
small potatoes.
Yeah, I mean, whoever supplies them may have had a lower than good yield this year. I don't know.
Small, but that was pretty good. Honestly, I wish I would have tried earlier on. But
so it wasn't. It wasn't the salt and vinegar one then, huh?
No salt and vinegar burns my tongue off. Burns my taste buds right off.
I was kind of trying to set Nick off, but it's okay.
Yeah, well, so I found them in the last couple of weeks of the event.
Yes, you did.
Yes, you did.
And I have no words. It's a fucking travesty that they did not have that on their menu. I don't know why it wasn't listed. I don't know how long they had it for without me getting it. But in the last 3 nights of which I discovered they were there, I had it 4 times, I think. I got it twice in one night and then once on the other nights. Yeah, an absolute travesty. And one of the nights that I got it, I had to get the second one because the first one I got was just not, like, they didn't cook it enough. Like, they were soggy, limp potatoes. Like, they were just not cooked. Like, I was eating like
6 to midnight potato.
Yeah, it went from midnight to 6. It was very limp. But yeah, they definitely didn't skimp when I told them extra, and then they put some on, and then I was like, yeah, put a little bit more on there, and then they put a little bit more. I was like, you know what, just put a lot more on there for me. How about that, bud? You got to make up for a good 2 months where I didn't have this, you asshole. But regardless, I think one last little shout out too. The Surfer Boy pizza was pretty good. I enjoyed
Didn't
that.
have it, unfortunately.
Yeah. French bread pizza worked for me. I never got it when it was bad. It tasted like middle school pizza with jalapenos on it and spam, but it was good. I did enjoy it. We'll move right along then. Best set piece in a zone. Now, this one was a tight one because we kind of debated this amongst ourselves. But I think the love needs to be shown where it needs to be shown. I think that this was a very cool set piece, whether it was used as properly as it could have been is up for debate. But I think overall, just construction of it was very, very ingenuitive. I think it was a fun piece, and I think it could have been used better. But overall, as a set piece, I'm going to give the best set piece in a zone to the crane in Shipyard with the little guy getting sucked into it and all the blocks. Because albeit I think the zone ended up being a little lackluster, I think the story fell flat. That set piece, I think, is if you had that in a zone that was firing on all cylinders, that would have been the talking point of the community for a while. Obviously, there was a lot of really cool stuff in Vamp, but at the end of the day, it was a stage. It was a bus. They looked cool. They definitely did, but I think that this was something very different and fun. But any thoughts on best set piece?
Yeah, I think constructive wise, it was pretty impressive that they were able to put that together and kind of keep it on the down low too. Like there wasn't a whole lot of talk about it prior to the event starting, so they did a pretty good job of kind of like building it, setting it up, and doing what they can with a weak scare zone. And to be honest with you, all the other set pieces and all the other scare zones, there really wasn't anything else that was like, hey, here's a centerpiece. I think maybe outside of Dr. Oddfellow's caravan thing, but they didn't really use as much as they should have. So yeah, I think this is kind of a surprising award, but well deserved.
Yep. So let's get into our next one, because this is going to be another guest announcer. So let's cue this on up.
Let's go.
Hello everyone, I'm Allie. And I'm Nikki. And we are the Haunt Girls. And we are so excited to be here today on the 3rd annual Fear and Beer Halloween Horror Nights Awards. Yes, we are here to present the award for Scare Zone that should be a future house. Those are some of my favorites. They're always so fun. Always so fun. I would love seeing how they transition well into houses and then also the other way around. But without further ado, can we get a drum roll, please? And the winner is Dark Zodiac. Woo!
They even provided the drum roll.
I love the enthusiasm.
They came so prepared, those two. Yes. Does Scare Zone that should be a house mean it is the best Scare Zone? No. I think that in my own opinion, and I'll let you both kind of speak on it as well, I think that this has the best possibilities of cool rooms. We already saw the character designs, so that would be a top notch. If you saw those designs in a house, everyone will be talking about that for a long time to come. But I think it would suit best as a house compared to the other 4 that we had. Thoughts on that?
I think that's a good one, honestly. I would like to see. I think it would portray itself better as a house than it did for the Scare Zone, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does. Yeah. That does. I do think Jungle's up there as well. That was it was pretty close, but I think Dark Zodiac is just so different. It's just such a out there concept that they could get really, really funky in some of those rooms and really cool scares, and each room could be sort of themed to the Zodiac, and you could have real trippy walkways. The sound would be really cool, whereas Jungle would kind of be what you think it is. It would be Jungle. That's kind of where we're at for Jungle. Seamus, thoughts on that at all? Or
yeah, out of the 5 scare zones, that's the one that would fit best as a house. I like Vamp as a scare zone. Not sure how much I'd like it as a house. I'm sure there's things they could do with it, but out of just looking at what we got for all 5 scare zones, just based on that, Zodiac has the most to offer. Lots of different characters, lots of different things you can kind of explore, whether you do different Zodiacs for different rooms or maybe picking one Zodiac or one overarching overlord of all the Zodiacs and come up with a house that way. But there's more there, I think, than in the other 4. So,
Yep. So, Seamus, do you want to give out that next one?
Sure. And this is the best scare actor in a scare zone, if I have that right.
Yep.
So we're going to give this to the Hookah Vampire. I'm assuming this is the one that was in the merch tent, and he had the like skullet thing going on. So I got to admit, I like the hairstyle. Keep rocking that, my brother. But yeah, he seemed to have some of the best energy. Had a really interesting set piece. Out of all the scare actors and all of the scare zones, he was kind of like someone that really kind of is pretty memorable. You're going to remember that one going forward into the future. But with that being said, we do have an honorable mention. So a second place vote goes to Batricia, who was a pretty big surprise. Again, another element of Shipyard that, although we all collectively did not like that scare zone, we are definitely giving elements of it to, either an award or some sort of honorable mention. So yeah, that's our winner. Hookah Vampire, and then Patricia. Anybody else you guys wanted to kind of like just shout out? I mean, I think from my perspective, the only other shout out I would give is the Scorpio in Dark Zodiac. I think she had a really cool costume, and was generally a pretty memorable character. But is there anybody else that you guys wanted to kind of shout out?
Jamie, what do you got?
The Tooth Fairy in Shipyard. I really loved Little Tooth Fairy. Let me tell you, every time I saw them, they were zipping around through the scare zone, twirling around with the little tooth in the hand, the little severed body part. I loved it. They were just so into it every night, and I thought it was so fun. They were great.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of love for Dr. Oddfellow. Admittedly, I didn't really spend that much time in that zone because it was just kind of, other than Dr. Oddfellow with the hot mic, it was a little bit forgettable, and he wasn't always on the mic. So it was like if I caught him, I'd watch it. If not, then I'm not going to really wait around for it. A lot of mine come from Vamp. Honestly, I did spend probably the most time there out of the other zones, so that's what kind of sticks out to me. But I loved the leader of the Bloodslayers, the long haired guy who would kind of go on stage with everyone and kill them. The girl with the little hammer was always just awesome. She always did really good scares. She kind of walk up and just say boop. Yeah, I really like those. I like oh God, what do they look like? I forget which Zodiac sign it is, but they were typically on the stage in the back left, kind of with a crown. It might have been a Pisces, maybe, if I'm remembering correctly.
I have no idea. So I'm going to be of no help.
That one, and I really liked the design of the Two-Face one, the one that would spin around a lot and have like
the Gemini.
You. Yeah, that one. Yeah, the Gemini. Jamie, you want to tackle the next one for us? Because I know this one has been staring you down.
Yes, it sure has. So we have our next award up is the Best Scare Zone Award, and that goes to none other. Are you surprised? Vamp 69. But we also had a close runner-up with Jungle of Doom. But Vamp takes the cake on this one. I go over.
That's incredible. I didn't think that was going to happen at all.
Who saw that one coming?
Did not
really should have just given it to Shipyard
whatsoever.
I bring up Vamp in like every single episode, so I'm not going to go too much into this one. But shout out to the Vamp. No peace, no love, only blood.
Yeah, there's really not much to say at this point about Vamp and the scare zones. We've definitely said our piece for sure. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, even in a year where there was like good, like if we had all around really good scare zones, this thing would still be up there, I think, as well. But yeah, we'll move along because we have talked about scare zones tremendously. So I'm just going to cue this on up. We have our next guest announcer.
Hello, Fear and Beer people. It is Michael from Hallowed Thrills, and I am here to present the award for House That Should Have a Sequel. And there were a ton of great houses at this year's event. My personal favorite of the originals that I feel like should get a sequel was Blood Moon. But let's be honest, there's only one real house that we should be getting a sequel for from this year. So our winner for House That Should Get a Sequel in the coming years for HHN is Dr. Oddfellow's Twisted Origins. I mean, it only makes sense. The seeds have been laid. That house was great, and it really kind of dug into the storytelling and the lore of HHN. And I already have a feeling that we may be seeing Oddfellow back a little bit sooner than we think, as maybe he may be coming back in a house with a certain clown that we all know a little bit too well. But I 100% think that Dr. Oddfellow's Twisted Origins should be the house that we get a sequel to from this year, and I hope you guys do agree with that. But definitely check out my channel, Hallowed Thrills, on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Make sure you give me a follow.
All right. Thanks for jumping on again, Mike. This was a second year in a row. We got a nice little video from him. But yeah, so House That Should Be Getting a Sequel. There were a lot of good houses this year. Blood Moon, like he mentioned, Darkest Deal. But I do feel like those are houses that, like, I just kind of enjoy them as them. I don't want to fight, like same with like Graveyard Games. Like if you have an idea for a sequel of Graveyard Games, maybe just change it up a little bit and leave Graveyard Games as is. Like it's almost like you don't touch the classics. If it worked that well, with Darkest Deal, do we need another story of another musical artist selling us whole? I don't think so. I think it was done perfectly as is, and I just don't want it to be kind of negated. The greatness of it by putting a not okay sequel just to do it. But yeah, that's my opinions on that. What do you guys think about the house that we should get a sequel to?
Yeah, I don't really know if I have another one that would totally warrant like delving further into the lore. I think this one, I mean, I say that in the sense that, like, obviously we're going to get another Yeti house in the future. That will happen. This seems to be a theme that they're running on. Maybe a couple others where you might see some sort of sequel to it. But as far as houses that really truly deserve to be explored, I think Oddfellow is that. And because he's just got a really strong character. And like you were saying, I think something like Darkest Steel kind of lives in its own world. Like, having that one house kind of just it sums it up nicely. There's really no where are you going to go with it? You know what I mean? Whereas, like I was just saying, with Oddfellow, there's so much more we can explore. Like, how does he tie into Jack's story, and what how else could he potentially tie into some of the other icons, and how can we tie those characters together with his story? I think there's a lot of avenues that they can take when it comes to a sequel, and it's probably the one that deserves it, at least from the ones we had this year.
Yeah, Jamie, thoughts on that?
Honestly, I don't want to beat it. Is that the phrase? Beat a dead horse? But I got to agree with you guys the most. I feel like yeah, but I feel like, as much as I would like to see sequels to something like Darkest Deal and like Blood Moon and stuff like that, kind of like the same thing you guys said, I feel like they were such well done standalone houses that they really don't need a sequel. And I gotta agree with Mike. I feel like Oddfellows is the one that's just like the obvious pick. It sets itself up perfectly for a sequel. There's obviously, you're getting a lot from that story of Dr. Oddfellow and all that kind of stuff and whatnot, but there's just more that could be in the near future maybe added to it. So I think we will be seeing Dr. Oddfellow sooner than we think as well.
Yeah, I do too, and I think we'll probably be talking about that in one of our future episodes, possibly.
Woo.
Hint, hint, wink, wink. So we'll move right along now. We're clearly in house territory. So we're going to give you out the best scare actor in a house. And this one, I think from day one, from when I saw it, was just like, wow. Definitely bringing scare acting to a whole new level. This was not just a scare. This was more of a performance, and albeit there were a handful of these in some of the houses. You look at characters like Pine Stop Spruce, where it was not necessarily a scare. It was more of acting. Same goes for the Eddie and Dustin on the rock out stage. But this one kind of bended the reality. We've already mentioned them before, but this is going to be that first.
I think the word you were looking for is bent.
Bent. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Before somebody else said something about it, but I was like, bended reality, bent reality. The first possessed girl in the Exorcist chair. That very much deserved.
The first day I saw her, she was kind of like had her hands on the armrests and like full on like half bent. And I was like, oh, that's kind of a cool prop. And then I was like walking by, and as I was about halfway down, she just kind of suddenly sat down into the chair. I was like, oh, that's a fucking person. Jesus, that.
Yeah, I think we all kind of just had the same reaction. I know the first time I went to that room, I thought I could have swore it was like a dummy or some sort of animatronic. And no, turns out she's just a contortionist and is amazing at her job. Because that was a phenomenal. It was great. I mean, by far and away the best scare acting, I think, of the year, at least for my opinion. Now we say her, we could very well have been a dude with a wig on, but either way,
whoever it is.
Yeah, I mean, whoever played that character, whoever played that character in tandem, because I'm sure there was a few different actors, y'all did a great job with it. And every single time I walked by it, and I just tensed up and seized up because I'm like just waiting for them to move and where are they going to go and what direction do they go in. And yeah, it was very, very good.
Yeah,
well deserved.
Some of my favorite runs were when I'd walk through and they wouldn't do anything, and I would just have direct eye contact with them the entire time. They would not blink. They wouldn't break. No smile, no nothing. Just kind of blank, dead eyes staring into my soul. But Jamie, what do you think about this? Do you have thoughts on this and an honorable mention?
I mean, well deserved, obviously. Like I said, I think I'm going to come up with my own award later on in the show, but this would be in that category for the award because like you said, it was like a performance. They just did so well at their job. I just definitely it's interesting to see, like, obviously you expect a scare to be something like, boo, someone popping out at you, someone popping around from around the corner, whatever, loud sounds and whatnot. But something can be more scary, and I feel like that was one of the scariest parts in that house, and they were just sitting in the chair just being so ominous and creepy, and you just really didn't know, and I thought that was great. And then did we already mention our honorable mention, or would you like me to mention it?
You can mention our honorable mention, and then if you have any others, feel free to list them off.
Yes, our honorable mention that we had was yet again the HHN bear from Yeti. We love you, an icon. A good honorable mention for best scare actor in a house. You know what? The little trumpet scare actor from Darkest Steel.
Trumpet Man?
Yep. The Trumpet Man. Yep. They got me really good a couple times. And there was one time they bonked the horn right in front of me, and it scared the crap out of me. And I looked over and they were like, hee 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 hee, kind of laughing. And I was like, you got me good.
Seamus, any honorable mentions from yours as well?
Yeah, surprisingly enough, one of the, I don't know what you would call them, but like the vampire demon things in Darkest Steel, when you walk into that first blues hall, and the guy there on the right, yes. I don't know what he had for prosthetic or she had for prosthetic, but when they opened their mouth, I mean, it looked like something out of a movie. So I think that was a really, really, really good scare actor. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is there wasn't, I mean, there outside of the girl in Exorcist and the bear, just because we love him, was there anybody that's super like memorable? I mean, I think just one of my favorite scare actors, just because I just like him, is the old dude in the Yeti house who comes out and be like, "What the hell are those things?" Like that guy. I laughed every single time the dude came out. But yeah, out of those three, I mean, again, I don't want to keep dwelling on it, but that Exorcist scare actor, I mean, by far and away, like golf clap. I mean, it was just really, really, really good. Standing ovation. Definitely deserve it.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot out there for sure, but there's, it's tough to narrow down, but that's what we got. Next up, we have another guest announcer, so let me cue this on up for us.
Hey guys, Adrian here from Launch TV. I want to say a huge thank you to Fear and Beer Podcast for having me on here, allowing me the opportunity to give you guys a winner for best set design in terms of Halloween Horror Nights houses for this year's event. And while there were a lot of competitors, 10 to be exact, the winner, very clear-cut, very straightforward, Blood Moon Dark Offerings. Thank you guys for having me, and I hope the rest of the show is great.
Oh, thank you very much, Adrian. Yes, set design. I mean, that's one of the strongest points of a haunted house just in general. That's just kind of the bones of the operation, so to speak. And Blood Moon, I think, just bar none went.
Yeah, I don't know.
Head and shoulders.
I don't think there's anybody close to it. I think that the strongest part of this house, the strongest aspect of this house, is the set design. I mean, it's exactly what they were going for. When you walk into that house, you're walking into a colonial era New England style village, and you feel like you're there. From the moment you walk in that house, you get that feeling to the very moment you leave. You feel like you're taken to another place. And I don't think a lot of houses have the capability of doing that. I don't think it's hyperbole to reiterate what our tour guide said on the 6th house Unmasking the Fear tour or whatever. When she said the guy that headed up that house, the design lead for that house, was a genius. Because it really is, when you went through it, you can see why someone would say that about the person. I mean, it was a genius layout. It was so good. And when I went through it for the first time, I said to myself exactly what she said, and a few other people were saying. It was amazing that when you walked through it, you completely forget the fact you're in a set. You're in a stage. You're in a sound stage. You forget that you're there. It feels like when you're walking through the little courtyard and you look and you see part of the line from across the courtyard, and you look at your and it feels like you're walking in and out of like village buildings. It doesn't feel like you're in a wall-to-wall maze and you're kind of just going through different rooms. Like, this one actually felt like you were in a living, breathing village. And I think that is why this one, without question, takes this award. And it was 90% of the reason why I love this house as much as I do. Yeah, I mean, it speaks to Dead Man's Pier last year. Same idea. You felt like you were walking into a small New England seaside town. It's the same idea with this one. And I wouldn't be surprised if the guy who headed up Blood Moon was the same gentleman that headed up Pier, because it definitely gives you the same vibe.
Yeah, that's for sure. Jamie, thoughts on Blood Moon? And then do you want to give out the honorable mention for best set design?
Yes. So honestly, can't say much more about Blood Moon. I feel like Seamus, you literally nailed it on the head. I mean, it's just a beautiful house. It's amazing. It honestly, like you were saying, Nick, I just feel like I'll never forget it. I miss it. When you were talking about it earlier for our listener awards portion, I was getting a little teary-eyed. I can't lie. I was like, man, just we're really never gonna see it again, huh?
We're never going to Parish Town
We're
again.
never going to Parish Town.
Can't book a flight there.
No, definitely can't book a flight there. We would perish. Hee. But
oh, that was bad.
That was really bad. that was really bad.
That was a dad joke if I've ever heard one before.
That wasn't that great. Cut that. No, but our runner-up for best set design was none other than Dueling Dragons. Burr, burr, burr. Which honestly,
Yeah,
you can't lie. The set design was gorgeous. It was awesome.
Oh, it would
yeah,
have been my
that's
second place vote.
Yeah.
When we did our rankings last week, that was really what carried Dueling Dragons up the rankings, was that, you know, those iconic looks, you know, that forest, that entrance, and, you know, set design, I kind of tie in with special effects, and those were some really just kind of new stuff that I haven't seen before. You know, the sound cracking as the lights trickled alongside of you, it gave you that, like, you know, carry along surround sound, you know, encompassment, and it was really, really cool. And that's something that really aided in Dueling Dragons and pushed it up into a positive manner, was that the set design was really, really good. Seamus, why don't you tackle the next one? I know this is a favorite of yours.
So I'm actually kind of surprised this won this award, but hey, this little bastard, he deserves it, you little son of a bitch. So this is our best scare in a house award. And this, you know, there's a lot to choose from. Tons of scares, tons of really good, memorable scares in all 10 of these houses. And this is, I'm surprised this one won it, to be honest with you. But this is the one scare that I think got a genuine reaction out of me. And that is the outhouse toilet snake from Yeti.
The old toilet snake.
Everyone's like, what? And I'm like, yeah. And let me just, again, story time with Seamus. The first time we went through Yeti, we're walking through the outhouse, and I'm like, ha, look, it's a toilet. It's an outhouse. And I pointed at the toilet bowl. Unbeknownst to me, a fucking snake comes out of it and spits at you. And I may have shit my pants. That's how good that one got me. Completely unexpected. Silliest thing ever. You wouldn't think that this would be the one to win this, but it was a genuine great scare. Typical, like, very general gag, but it just works, man. When they get those certain ones right and you're not expecting it, it totally works. But we do have an honorable mention. I'll leave that to one of you guys to kind of talk about. But does anybody else have anything to say about the snake that comes out of the toilet?
It took me a long time to actually catch the snake, because you had pointed it out, and I was like,
lucky with it.
What? There's a what? And I
first fucking run through.
Yep. And then the last couple times, or after our first run, the next couple times I would pay pretty close attention to it, and I got nothing. I was like, damn, what the hell is in this fucking toilet? And then it finally got me. I was like, oh, you son of a bitch. You got me. But yeah, Jamie, thoughts on toilet snakes? And you can do the honorable mention, because I know this is one of your favorites.
Well, as
a very phallic episode tonight.
As someone who grew up in Florida, the thought of a toilet snake has always been a possibility. So this one really hit close to home. But sadly enough, I never got this.
Close.
No,
you never got the snake.
I
Not
never
once?
got the snake. I would see him every time. I was either
man.
too far ahead or I was too far behind. But I did see that little booger. I definitely saw him popping out of there, spitting at people.
Son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch. No, it's okay. So for our honorable mention, this was actually probably one of my favorite characters in the house this year. I thought they were super, super fun. This was the headless person in Dr. Oddfellow's Twisted Origins house. It was the magician's box kind of setup where they saw you in half, and the scare actor was headless, and it looked like it was just a stagnant body standing in the magician's case, and to your surprise, they would jump out at you and pop out towards you headless. It was really cool. Super fun.
Yeah, that was always a really good one. You'd have to, again, that one was one where you have to kind of just catch it.
I was just going to say that too. I did miss it a couple times, but it was always fun getting to see him pop out.
It's a very small window on some of these scares. Yeah. I'm trying to like go through my head on a couple of the ones that stood out. I always love the tutu wearing
The
bull,
bullhead,
the
yeah.
bull guy. Yeah, that one was one of my favorites. That one was, I guess we should have put that for honorable mentions for best scare actor as well. I liked the like little goat guy. Was it the bubbly water
The
goat
sea
or
goat.
something? The sea goat.
Sea
Yeah.
goat, man.
Again, something that I didn't catch often, but it was always nice scare. For other scares, you know, I do think of the little Russian doll in the Darkest Steel. That was a really cool scare because you didn't really expect somebody to come out from there. I know
Mannequin
after
scares are always really good too.
Yeah, I know after the first runs, it kind of diminishes the scares, but that first time going through Blood Moon with all the pews, that one is just just great. Trying to think, Monsters had some really good ones. I think Monsters kind of always got me with the I don't know how it worked timing wise, but this person got me almost every time, and it was the lady pushing the baby carriage. The my baby. And I was like, God, I know, like I can still see the carriage sticking out, but every time I take the corner, she's bum rushing me with this thing like she's going down the Publix aisle.
Yeah,
but,
I do feel like talking about Monsters, because I know this is going to come up. The triple scare would have been higher, I think, on our list if they hadn't added those barriers. I think adding the barriers kind of telegraphed it a little bit too much, and it kind of, at least for me, hurt it somewhat. But if that had stayed as it was originally without the barriers, it probably would have potentially finished as the winner here. But yeah.
Yeah. And man, what else? There's just so many. We could sit here all day and list all the really good scares.
Right.
But, I'm sure we missed some. And I'm sure we mentioned some that you were forgetting about as well. But let's just move right along. We have another guest announcer, so let's cue this one up and see what we
Happy
got.
Halloween. My name is Dakota from Cathode Coaster and the Horror Nights Gauntlet. This year, we were tricked and treated to a world of fearsome ringmasters and giggling clowns, hulking yetis and brooding cultists. The world of Halloween Horror Nights 32 has been peopled with a menagerie of beautiful and terrifying monsters that will stay with us in our memories and our nightmares for years to come. The nominees for Best Costume Design are the same as every other category. Pretend I didn't make the same joke last year. But we have the envelope. And the winner is Dueling Dragons! Choose thy fate! Best costume design!
Had to give it to Dakota. Always comes in such a class act. His word choice is just top notch right there. I mean,
yeah. Let me tell you, I thought I was a good writer. You should write books, Dakota, because I literally, that was just a beautiful set of words. I was just so entranced by your speaking.
But yes, costume design, going to Dueling Dragons. We didn't completely leave them off the board. We can recognize real when we see it. And the costumes were really, really cool. Now, we talked going into this, like the variety of stuff. I think the variety for me grew as I went through this house more and more. I started to see the differences. Maybe I missed them the first time. Maybe they switched stuff up. But, you had the trolls, which had a pretty cool little costume, but it's kind of basic. But then what really got into it was you had the fairy, which had a really cool costume. Mm-hmm. You had both the wizards, Blizzrock and Pyrock. And then you sort of had the transformation of, half Pyrock, half dragon, half Blizzrock, half dragon. We went through the full transformation, and then we got two, kind of sleeping dragons up on the top. But yeah, the costumes are really cool. Merlin was a really cool design. You had the little skeleton army. You had the fire burnt up costume. You had the frozen costumes. You had a lot of variety in there where I originally did not go into thinking that. And again, we just talked about how in our rankings, Dueling Dragons kind of raised our rankings based off of their set and special effects, and costumes is a part of that as well. And the costumes, we can't deny that was a very shining moment for that house. So thoughts on the set design for Dueling Dragons?
Costume design?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Sorry. No, I loved
Yeah.
it. I thought it was great. Like you said, no, I was like, did we already move to the next one? No, but I loved it. I think this is what I voted for too for the best costume design because it was just it was stunning. What I really liked, I just think I'm an ice gal, honestly. Just all the different parts in the house with the ice transformation and the different transitioning going in through the house from the fire to the ice and the Blizzrock character with all the icicles and just it was just so well done. Honestly, it was great. The skeleton army was great. That whole little section was so reminiscent of the queue for the ride, which was phenomenal. You would never thought we never thought we were going to see it happen, but we did. And yeah, this definitely deserved the award. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, I think there were aspects of Dragons that really worked, and part of it was the costumes. I think they did a really good job with the costumes. I think the lighting kind of helped with that a little bit. So it kind of worked together to bring it together, as much as it could, regardless of how I felt about the story and everything else. But yeah, no, I agree that the costumes definitely were some of the best this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Jamie, would you like to tackle this next one?
Yes. So for our next award, we have our most fun house. This was a little bit of a surprise to me as the runner-up got taken for the spot of which I thought was going to be the most fun house, but the award for most fun house this year goes to Yeti Campground Kills, which I think Nick's excited about this one.
No, this is definitely my vote.
Not a thing.
I mean, for my...
It was a fun house.
It really was. If I think about all the 10 houses that we did, which one did I have the most fun in? Not necessarily the house that I thought was the best or most well done or scariest or this or the other. Just which one was like just the most fun? And that it's Yeti. Every scene is unique. Every scene is, either funny or over the top or campy or just fun in general. I think it had some of the better fun scares out of all the houses. I already stated him once. I think the guy who comes out of the room and he goes, "What the hell are those things?" Like, that guy is awesome. Billy, that little bastard, he's fun. The whole family is cool. I think the house overall just it was one you enjoyed. It wasn't one that you dreaded or you were bored with. There was always something in this house to look forward to. So that's why I thought it was the funnest one, most fun one.
Yeah, I agree as well. I think this one was just a blast. You could pick up the story, and it was a very basic one at that, but it was just the little set pieces were fun and schlocky. The big Yeti designs were really cool. They were all different. Just the actual characters, the mother coming out. Have you seen Billy? Or, stupid Billy poking the baby Yeti. And then you had the little medium Yeti on the way out. I think it was just a real fun house. There was a lot of really cool tricks in there that they pulled out as well, like the little lake scene and stuff like that. But overall, it was still just it was a very fun house. I enjoyed my time going through it. And that one really stuck out. And the runner up, we gave this to Oddfellow. This was another fun house. There was just a lot of wacky stuff going on in there. Kind of what we sort of thought, where you had all these different sideshow acts just kind of going ham. And it was just a fun house. It was scary, but there was a lot of really, really cool pieces. But I know there's really only 8 other options at this point, but is there another one that was like, man, I really had fun with this one?
No, for me, these are the two that I think were as far as what we're talking about as fun, these are the two that were the ones that were the most fun for me.
Yeah, I think so as well. Jamie, any thoughts on most fun? Are we ready to move on to the next award?
I did think Dueling Dragons was pretty fun too. I really liked the choose thy fate aspect. I thought that was a nice little touch, and it's something different. We haven't had something like that where you can choose a different path in a really long time. So it was nice to have that little switch up, and it was pretty fun getting to see if you succeeded or if you were doomed.
Yeah, I definitely had fun with that. I think my last run of that on the second to last night was the most fun I had in a house during any run. And that was when we kind of grouped up with a bunch of people. We got to finally put Jess from 365 with Seamus go through Dragons, and they were firing on all cylinders. We were the only ones in there. We were kind of battling back and forth with them, and it was just the energy was very top notch. And maybe had that been there the whole year, it would have risen more. But you can only do so much when it's a constant conga line. But they were definitely going hard on that night. But yeah, let's move right along and move into our next guest announcement.
All right, and HHN365 is back. The other half, the less funny half, Duff and Jess here, of course. Another award. This one, a little bit more fun, at least. At least the winner is more fun. We are looking at the biggest surprise. Do you have any inklings what that could be?
Ooh, I don't know. For me, the biggest surprise this year was that I like Jungle of Doom. But that's just me. I don't know. What about you?
I think the biggest surprise is that they keep inviting us to do this.
I mean, I don't know. Mike's suit is pretty epic. I would invite us based on that alone.
Oh, I thought that's why we weren't getting invited. Anyways, let's get to the coveted award of the biggest surprise. And the winner is The Exorcist Believer.
Woo! Angela and Catherine, they really deserve that.
Drip, drop, drip, drop.
Drip, drop. They found the body.
Deserved.
Finally.
Very well deserved. It was a big surprise, and I'm very happy you won it. Congratulations, girls.
Yeah, The Exorcist. I mean, when we saw this thing pop out on speculation and it was tossed back and forth at times, it's going to be the original, it's going to be this new movie that's not out yet. It was just very bottom of the list for most people. I think myself included. I think I probably had that at 9 or 10 or something like that. But yeah, I mean, just there was so many unknowns, and that just goes to show you how much a cast can affect a house. They did let's just call it what it was. It was a pretty basic style house. They didn't have much to work with because they didn't know much. But the cast just took it and absolutely ran with it. Now, some of the scares were designed very well. The body and the blood scene with the two dueling girls on either side. They definitely set the house up for success, but that doesn't mean it's going to be a successful house. You have to have the people that are involved in it actually do their part and then some. And the girls just fucking killed this house. They turned this thing from an absolute dud into a top-notch, very, very fun house. Something I did probably in the top half of how many houses I did. This was probably at the top half of the list of most visited houses for myself. But yes, just, I mean, what a surprise when we were talking about Exorcist to now here we sit the middle of November, having gone through the whole season, being like, wow, okay, that was something else. That was something that kind of redeems the past Exorcist house and gives us a newfound appreciation for those characters and the scare acting that can be done into it. But thoughts on The Exorcist winning best or biggest surprise?
Oh, I think you nailed it. None of us had this house highly rated. I don't think any of us expected anything quite what we got. And it says something too, that the movie comes out and everybody's shitting on the movie, but everyone has nothing but praise for the house, which is kind of funny how that happened. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely the epitome of, you have a good cast, you can do wonders. They went hard every single night that we went through it. I don't think I had a bad run of this house at all. And I think I did it maybe 5 or 6 times. And out of those 6 times, I don't think there was one where I was like, yeah, that was weak. I mean, it got better every time I did it. And I just think it worked so well. Plus the set design of this one was, nothing to throw shade at, because the set design in this house was really, really good too. But yeah, I just think it just completely blew away expectations for myself, and I think for a lot of people. So yeah, no, this was definitely the biggest surprise by far.
Yeah, and when I say it's like basic, there were really cool parts of it, but I don't hold it. I'm not looking at like this as any of the top sets of the year. I look at Dragons and Blood Moon, Darkest Steel, stuff like that. It was still very well done, but I think they just didn't know what they were going to be working with. So I think they were limited. I think a limited set is probably a better term than saying it was mediocre. But I think they just, kind of worked with what they had, which, who knows how much that was, whether it was a original script, whether they sent them some images from the actual movie set. Who knows what they actually had to work with, but I would imagine that it wasn't a whole lot. It wasn't somebody that they couldn't watch the movie umpteen times and, pick apart details to include in the house. It was still very, very green. It was still in the can, so to speak. So, Jamie, thoughts on The Exorcist taking the biggest surprise award?
Yeah, it was very well deserving of that, honestly. Like you guys all said, you guys pretty much said it all, but it shocked us all. And honestly, I don't think any of us, I know Nick and I haven't, none of us have seen the movie yet, but I'm pretty sure. And I honestly I'm kind of not ready to watch it yet, just because we had such a good time with the house and such a good idea of what the movie would be like, even with it not having been out yet. I kind of just don't want to have my hopes crushed with hearing the reviews about it. And maybe, I don't know, I feel like a lot of the times when people don't like movies, I tend to like it. But we'll see. But yeah, this was definitely deserving of it. Like you guys said, the cast, the design, like you said, Nick, was very simple, but it was just very well done and well executed. So this award was very much well deserved for the Exorcist gals.
Yeah, that's just that. And then the runner up, the honorable mention, we'll have to mention is The Darkest Deal, because going into it, I definitely did not expect what we got. But any thoughts on that? Because this one was a house we talked about for a while. Devil Went Down to Georgia house. Was it going to work? Are they going to tell the story?
I think with this one, it's a little bit less of a surprise just because we've seen it before in the past where you have a certain original idea comes out or gets leaked or not spoiled, but gets speculated. And everyone's like, oh, that could be interesting. I wonder how they'll do that. Where, compare that to The Exorcist, where I don't think anybody was like super hype on. I think everyone was kind of like, okay, another Exorcist house. Is this really going to be that good? I think with The Darkest Deal, I think it just did what, it was possibly going to do, which was turn up and be really good for what it went for, or it was going to be really bad. And I think it was, obviously it went the good route, but yeah, I mean, as far as the other houses, I think this was probably the second biggest surprise, if you want to call it that. But that's just from my perspective. That's kind of where I see it. I don't think I was incredibly surprised that it was as good as it was, just because I figured it was going to go one way or the other.
Yep. Jamie, any thoughts before we move on?
Yeah, with The Darkest Deal, I feel like with this house and with The Last of Us, when everything was finally announced, those two were probably the houses I was least looking forward to, I guess. Didn't really have too much interest in it. And by the end of the season, The Darkest Deal ended up being one of my favorite houses. It was just so well done. It was such a creepy house, and it just told the story so well.
Yep. Jamie, you want to tackle the next award for us?
Yeah, so for our next award, we have Best Exterior Facade. And with this one, we only really had two options. So
you had a 50-50 chance.
You got a 50-50 on this bad boy. So for Best Exterior Facade, the winner goes to The Darkest Deal, popping up again in our hearts and in our minds. But yeah, this was awesome. Bub's Lounge, that outhouse, the lighting that they had projected amongst the house, the way that they transformed the sprung tent into what looks like an actual, how do I explain it? A rickety old
concert venue.
Concert venue, exactly. They just did it so well. And you guessed it, our runner-up was Dr. Oddfellow's Twisted Origins.
Which I do. This one was definitely tough because the ability to light that thing up like a circus tent, I think we mentioned it before we even got to see it. And we're like, man, that would be cool if they did that. Mm-hmm. They did that for sure. But also I view like that little entrance walkway with the barrels, the curtains, that I also view as exterior, which was really cool. The only downfall I'd say of Darkest Deals is that it looks like they constructed it for us to walk past the outhouse in between the well and take a left. But I think with the construction of those new queue lines that were elevated so it wouldn't be stuck in the rain this year. I think that just didn't line up properly. But I think we were supposed to enter it kind of like how we entered Descendants. You'd walk straight in and then you would hang a right, walk through the front of the Bub's Lounge in between the little well, and then take a left into the house. Unfortunately, I think we didn't get the full treatment, but overall it still was just extraordinary. Any thoughts on that exterior before we move along to our next guest announcer?
Nope. I mean, you guys pretty much covered it. I don't really have a whole lot to add to it. I mean, because I wasn't super blown away by either of them, but if I had to pick one of the two, it was Blood Moon. It was Darkest Steel.
Yeah, it does feel like exterior facades are something that don't get kind of buttoned down as much as maybe they used to. Really only have the sprung tents, and then the parade warehouses just kind of nowadays just get the big laminates. So
it's probably easier to deal with than with storms and stuff. To run the risk of losing everything you worked on because of a fucking hurricane. But
yep. So we did exterior. Let's get to interior, and this is our next guest announcer.
Hey, Fear and Beer listeners, this is Matt from the Catacombs Halloween Horror Nights podcast, and I have been asked to announce the winner for the best interior facade for Halloween Horror Nights 2023. And that winner is Universal Monsters Unmasked. And I'm absolutely astounded at the chances that me, of all people, would get to give this award to that house. Enjoy the show, everyone.
What are the odds?
What do you know?
What are the odds
what
that
do you know?
Got to announce Monsters as a winner?
I mean, he is the resident Monsters fan. So.
Oh yeah. He was running this house
multiple times in one night. Yeah, multiple.
We did it
multiple
twice times. But yeah, I mean, and it's something you can't argue. I don't think. Blood Moon.
No, it was really good.
Blood Moon is the runner-up because it was really, really cool. But that entrance with the rain and the character up top, feeling like you truly were going down into the depths of the catacombs. You had newspapers scattered. It felt like a dreary,
it was
depressing London day or Paris or whatever the fuck. But
that is an interior facade, something you're walking into and being welcomed into the house in a way you're not going to forget anytime soon. Like that's going to stick with you for a while, I think.
Yeah. That one was just one for the ages for sure. Jamie, thoughts on Monsters? Because I know this is one of your favorite houses as well.
Oh, it sure is, and I'm still not over it, honestly. I feel like this facade is just like what my dreams are made out of. Just walking through it every night was just like a
depressing
dream. No, it's great. It was just so gloomy and ominous, but beautiful.
Yeah, that's
right and frightening.
My life is gloomy and miserable, so totally right up my alley, man.
My life is one big dark room. No, but it was a beautiful facade, honestly. I hate to say it, but last year's Monsters was very cool as well with the facade, but I think out of all the Monsters houses iterations that they've had in the past years, I think this one takes the cake for facades. It was just astounding what they did with this one.
Yeah, it just goes to show how creative and how just in touch these people are that create this stuff are with the properties and the settings, because they absolutely nailed it.
Yeah.
No fight for dragons, huh, Jamie?
No, even though it was really nice too. Honestly, it was beautiful
cool
too. It was cool, but don't be hate. Honestly, it was.
I'd be hating.
I'd be hating. I can't think of the right word.
Just call me Seamus the hater.
It was. I don't know. It was a pretty big tree.
I'm a shader.
How did they get it in there?
How did they do that?
How did they
get a hold?
Literally,
they've been growing that tree for 7 years. Moving right along, our best IP. I think we agree with the listeners on this one.
Does this surprise anybody?
IP to The Exorcist Believer. Now, how well that IP is received is a completely different story. But I think for our purposes here, that the IPs at the event this year, I think The Exorcist just took the cake. It was just such a
really
fun house,
was
scary house.
Yeah, I mean
the poop room, the body in the blood, the poop room. I don't know how that character worked in there. the whole night.
Yeah,
and
it smelled
absolutely
pretty
killed
gross.
it.
The whole house
And
smelled
they
like shit,
pumped-
honestly.
They pumped the shit smell in there. Yeah, it was something. I don't think this is one that we need to spend too much time
not
on.
really. I mean, again, this is no. We're not shitting on Stranger Things. For those that are big fans of Stranger Things, like we thought that, obviously it is what it is, but I just think it had a lot to live up to, and it just didn't do it. I think it missed in certain points, certain key points for me, and that's why I went with Exorcist, because I don't think I was expecting much of anything, and it was just good. It was so good that I just don't think Stranger Things could have even matched it as far as like meeting expectations.
Yeah. So funny enough, let's get into the next one then. Jamie, do you want to tackle this one? Because now we're getting into our last 3 awards. So these are kind of some of the bigger ones.
I thought you would want to do this one, and then I could do the next one.
Sure, we could do. Oh, I just did one.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Well, so for our next award, we have the best cast, and the award goes to the Stranger Things cast.
See, there you go. They're getting some love.
There we are.
Nick
Paired
is
that
a
up
big
nicely.
fan of our Stranger Things buddies. They killed it this year.
I am, and cast kind of goes half and half with casting, I guess.
I was just gonna say, like, I think we have to give some love to casting because they do a really, 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 really good job.
Yeah, I mean, they found the perfect people for these.
Yep.
It's hard to be like, hey, you like wizards, you're perfect for dueling dragons. But
Nope, you're right.
The way that they casted this house and the way that the cast really encompassed the characters was just absolutely spot on.
I think they do a great job of not just like casting a house. They do a great job of casting Lucas, casting Max, casting Mike, casting 11L. I mean, they just do a really, really good job of casting the characters from the show, where it gives you, again, kind of like with Blood Moon, it makes you feel like you're part of the IP. Like you feel like you're in there. I mean, it's hard to really, it's not as easy to look at them and go, oh yeah, that's clearly just somebody playing someone. It's they do a really good job of casting those characters. So, I got to give them credit for that.
Yeah, they absolutely carried this out. This is one of my most hyped things going in. I love Stranger Things. I'm wearing a Stranger Things shirt currently. You can't see it, but Stranger Things 4 is one of my favorite seasons, and I just the choices they made in telling the story of the house kind of set it apart. Some of the set design set it apart, but the strongest point was the heart of the house, and the heart of this house is the cast, and they just did a phenomenal job. But yeah, any other thoughts on the cast? Because I mean, I could go on for these for days on this cast. I mean, my homie Avion over there in the Lucas room was just absolutely killed it every single time.
They did a really good job.
Yeah, the Eddie on the stage was always rocking out. The Eddie with the bat was always great. 11 fighting 1 on that little co-op scene was just, they never broke character. They were always in it. It was just, it was, like I said, I can't reiterate it too much more because we got to move along, but it was the strongest point of that house, and that's what really kept it from bottoming out for me. So then, Seamus, you want to tackle the next one?
And this is...
Oh, actually, I forgot. We didn't give our runner-up out.
Yeah, well, our runner-up for that one is...
for the best cast.
Yeah. Hey, that's the
Exorcist.
Exorcist.
For the best cast is Exorcist.
Yeah,
yes, because all them little gals just killed it all.
Yeah, I mean, they killed it. They murdered that house. They murdered every person that went through there. Yeah, I mean, they made that house what it was. So...
Yeah, much to the same sentiment that we were talking about, where the characters and the cast can really carry the house. The enthusiasm of the cast for The Exorcist definitely made it what it was. But yeah, so carry on, Seamus, to the next award.
Which is the Scariest House? Am I reading that right? Yeah, so Scariest House. We are also going right along with the audience. And I think, right, they voted for this the same one, right? Yep, they did. It's The Exorcist. Surprise, surprise. They're running away with the awards tonight, man. They're just taking everything. But yeah, I don't think there was any. I think out of the 10, this is the scariest one, and it's not close. There are, elements to other houses that are pretty scary, but just overall, every single room getting you. It has to go to Exorcist. The way, and it all comes together. Sound design, scare acting, set design. It's all built together to maximize the scares, and this house just had it all. It did everything right. There were very little, if at all, any misses. And I think you can look back at a house like Scarecrow, where that just had everything work together and come together to just create a great house, great experience. Exorcist just blows it away, and I don't think we have a run up for this, do we? We do, I guess. I'm sorry, we do.
Did,
yeah, but I don't think it's a close runner up. I think The Exorcist is I don't think of any other words I can come up with to really describe it. It just worked. It just worked.
Yeah, it definitely did. Jamie, thoughts on scariest house of the year being The Exorcist?
I think that I'm going to be the hater now. I think that our runner-up was a little bit scarier than The Exorcist house at some points. I think I got more
then
scares.
why don't you announce that and give your reasoning?
So our runner-up that we chose was The Darkest Deal. So I found this house to be actually very, very scary. I feel like throughout the whole season, I got numerous scares in this house. Don't get me wrong, The Exorcist was very scary as well, and I did get some good scares in that one, but I feel like maybe with the runs that I did through it, I missed them a lot of the time, but still, it was a very scary house in the ambiance that it had in itself, but I feel like the story and the way everything was portrayed in The Darkest Deal and some of the different characters that we had just scared me a little bit more than The Exorcist may have. But I still think that The Exorcist is very deserving of this reward. And it sounds like from the way we've been voting for it that we're now in Exorcist Believer fan club. So that's new too.
We're believers.
Ooh. I like that.
Yeah, The Exorcist has, the best scares, some of the best casts. It's just it was top notch. And yes, Darkest Deal had a lot of good scares. It's in the name. It's dark. There was a lot of little dark areas in there, just waiting for people to kind of pop out from. But yeah, so that brings us to our final award, the best house. And I think this is different than our rankings. We awarded best house to something other than what we got on our kind of blind rankings. So that's interesting. Seamus, why don't you announce this?
Yeah, you want me to announce it, huh?
Why don't you take the honors?
All right. Well, we don't have a drum machine or anything like that. We're not as fancy as
There
you go. That works. We have to do old school. So for our third annual award show here at Fear and Beer, we are going to award the best house to Blood Moon. I forget the subtitle, but Blood Moon, Dark Offerings. Excuse me, I'm old. Give me a break, everybody.
It's late.
Blood Moon Dark Offering wins best house of the year for Fear and Beer, and I don't remember exactly who ended up being the highest ranked house based on our
I think it was Darkest
rankings.
Deal.
Was it Darkest Deal? Blood Moon, there's not much more to say about it. I think just when we're talking about every element coming together to create an experience, Blood Moon did it the best. This is why for me it was so criminal how low the weight was for it all the time, and I think it just suffered from where it was located. But as far as the house is concerned, everything works. The set design works. The costume design works. The sound design works. It all comes together. The cast was really good. The scares are really good. And it just came together to be, that type of, experience that it's exactly what I'm looking for when I go to a haunted house. You would think that I tied Jamie and Nick up and threatened them with a baseball bat to make sure this one's best house. But no, I just think that I said it before. I'll say this again, and I totally mean this, that this could potentially be my favorite house of all time. And it's close, but I think it's out of all the houses I've done, which is a short list, obviously I don't have as many years gone or under my belt, but of the ones that I have done, I think this is my favorite house of all time. And that includes Pier. So sorry, Nick.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's a good house to compare that with, because it does have very reminiscent parts of it that resemble Dead Man's Lair.
I mean, I will put it this way. I do think that there was at least one other house this year that I think was close for me as a second. Not entirely, like not super close, but it was close. And we'll get into that in a second when you guys talk about a runner up. But yeah, I mean, I don't have a whole lot else to say about Blood Moon. I know that some people, there were other houses that they thought was the best, so maybe they don't agree with me, but I don't know. I can't get this one out of my head, and I'm going to remember this for a very long time.
Yeah, I think this one averaged out pretty high for us as well. This one, I love and hate that the wait time wasn't a good representation of the house, because if it had the wait time it deserved, I wouldn't have been able to go as often as I did.
Consider the fact that the longest wait didn't win a single award from us anyways.
Yeah.
So just consider that wait times aren't always a good gauge of what's good and what isn't.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think Last of Us had probably the longest thing, and I don't think we gave it any love.
We don't give it any, and not just us. Like, I mean, the audience didn't give it any love either. So
no,
our listeners seem to be on the same boat, so to speak.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was just great. The scares worked, the story worked, the design just overall was amazing, and there's really not much else I can say without being too repetitive, because we've probably hit upon Blood Moon a couple times at this point. But Jamie, Blood Moon, best house. Agree? Is there something else with your tugging on your heartstrings?
There is something that's tugging on my heartstrings, but
is it the runner-up?
It is the runner-up. You guessed it.
Well, let's
buddy.
talk about it.
So our runner-up for the Best House Award is Universal Monsters Unmasked Indeed. This, for the whole season, I was saying Monsters is my favorite house. It's amazing. It's great. And it was just always so neck and neck with Blood Moon. And I feel like the only deterring factor that kind of made Blood Moon rise above Monsters for me a little bit was just that godforsaken walk to Monsters was just horrible.
It wasn't the Invisible Man?
No, I love the it wasn't the Invisible Man. I love the Invisible Man.
You're asking the wrong person.
That walk just killed me. And like you guys said, I feel like it was just so nice with Blood Moon. Like you guys said, it's not very reflective of how great the house was that the wait times were so low, but I'm glad the wait times were always so low, because this was probably the house I did the most runs through for the season, other than The Exorcist and Monsters, I think, as well. But yeah, not to be too repetitive either, but Blood Moon, definitely our favorite house by far. We're all big Blood Moon stans. I mean, it was just like you said, Seamus, it's definitely unforgettable. I'll never forget this house. I know that's kind of corny to say, but it's true. We haven't had something true. Like it before, and it was just so well done.
There are certain originals that you just remember, like, for example, Graveyard Games. You remember Pier. You remember certain ones, Pumpkin Lord, Wicked Growth. You remember these certain houses because of how good they were, and this is going to be one that follows that up. And there's always, Universal, they do a great job every single year. There was always one original that just how do they do it? Like, how do they come up with the ideas that go into it? And we said it already once, they have some unbelievably smart creative leads who know how to put something together. They have a picture in their brains and they make it come to life, and they do a great job of putting all the teams together to make that happen. Set design, casting, sound design, lighting, it all comes together to make an experience that you won't forget. And they just do an amazing job doing that. And that's not to take away from the other houses, because I think at the end of the day, they all do a really good job, but some of them are going to be a little more forgettable than others. This is just one of those ones that will not be forgotten for a very long time. But with that said, Monsters is definitely a second, and even for me. So for all y'all who think I'm just a Monsters hater, listen,
Not this year.
Not this year. I hate a lot of things. This year, Monsters was incredible. It did everything it needed to do right. I just think for me, the only thing that the biggest drawback, and it was a pretty significant drawback, was the repetitiveness of it, and I think it was a little too bloated. I think they're struggling the last couple of years of just adding too many monsters. There's too much going on, and it's hard to really stay focused. And I think this year it suffered from that. Otherwise, the house was incredible. So take it for how you will. Take that for what you will. But I think Blood Moon just ran away with it this year.
Yeah, it was definitely a very good year, and I think Darkest Deal is up in that conversation as well. I think it's a very 1, 2, 3, very
Darkest Deal has its moments. I totally get where the people that are saying that it's the best house are coming from. I think they have a good argument. I just think it wasn't, for me. It just wasn't as. It's kind of like Wicked Growth and Puppet Theater, where like Puppet Theater, I could understand why everybody was super high on it. I just think for me, it just wasn't quite at the level that Growth was. Whereas the same thing with this year. I think just Blood Moon is just on a completely different level for me.
Yeah, totally agree. Well, those are our third annual HHN Awards. Again, thank you to everybody that's listening, everyone that voted, everyone that came on to be a guest announcer. Obviously, we are not going to stop talking about HHN32, but we are going to be starting to drift away. We are going to be starting to set our sights on HHN33. We don't have a very conclusive book ending.
No announcements yet.
Seasons. No announcements yet. I'm sure we'll start seeing people on Twitter yelling at Horror Nights about that. But yeah, this semi concludes our HHN 32 season. It has been a fun one. It has been wild. It has been long-winded. If you want to be a weird, gross pervert and go listen to all of our old hot takes episodes and our guesses of what was going to happen in the season and point out how wrong we were, feel free. Go ahead. They're still up there. All of our wrong takes and all of our nonsense that we spewed for our 1 week until HHN Podathon. It's all out there in the zeitgeist of the internet. But yeah, this was another fun season. We've mentioned it before. We are going to be starting to branch and do more and more fun horror-related things on our socials, different little segments and stuff like that. That's all still in the works. I would expect us to kind of be ready. I want to set a good guideline, and I think starting the year fresh with some new cool stuff is a good time frame for us to kind of get sorted out and figure out exactly how we want to do things here. But with that being said, we are going to be starting back up our Shudder Sundays this Sunday. So head over to our YouTube page, like, subscribe, all that stuff, because we're going to be back for Shudder Sundays. And this week we will be talking about Hell House LLC, Carmichael Manor, Origins, something along the lines of that. They have like 3 taglines for this fucking movie. But yeah, I watched it this week, and we'll save all of our thoughts for our Shudder Sundays. And if you're a newer listener, and you weren't here during our Shudder Sundays, we did that sort of before the season got going. Obviously, during season, we don't have as much time at our disposal. But now that we are not spending 25, 30 hours a week at Horror Nights, we have a little bit more time on our hands. And instead of resting and enjoying free time, we're going to be watching horror movies and making content. So head over to our YouTube page. Every Sunday, we're going to be doing Shudder Sundays, where we're going to watch a movie on Shudder, and we're going to give you a little 10-minute breakdown of that movie as best as we can. Any final thoughts on the season, on the awards, on anything?
No, I just don't think there's much more we can say, but thank you to everyone at Universal who puts this on, who puts all the work into, 10 months out of the year to make 2 months for our years just super special, and gives us a reason to keep going. Gives us a reason to keep talking about this silly shit on the internet. But no, I truly mean that from the bottom of my heart. You give me a reason to look forward to the year. And I thank you for that. You give me something to kind of to keep going, and you help. You help with a lot a lot of other things that, we don't need to get into at the moment. But, I just want to thank you all. I know some of you listen to us. I know some of the scare actors, you follow us on Instagram. So if you are listening to us, thank you. I don't know how much more I could say other than that. Not to get super sappy, but yeah, I mean, you guys are the best. You really are.
Yep. Jamie?
Yeah, I mean, I can't agree more. I mean, I grew up going to horror nights, even though I was actually petrified as a child, and my dad said we would never go back because I cried and I wouldn't do any of the houses. But that has obviously changed in the years that I've gotten older, and it's just
You still cry, you just do the houses.
right. No, but it's just so fun and so rewarding just to see the event grow over the years and over time, and as discouraging that it has gotten much more popular and the lines are longer. It just shows that even people who aren't really in the horror community and really aren't as big into horror nights and whatnot and stuff like we are, it's just really nice to see them giving it a shot and having a good time and enjoying something that maybe they wouldn't have originally thought of doing. And this year was nonetheless great, just as all the other years been. Yeah, just like you guys said, thank you to all the cast, all the crew, everyone who helped put this on. Thank you to our special guest announcers who came on our I keep saying reward show.
A reward show?
A reward show. Our awards show.
50%
and helped us announce a
Buy
lot
one
of these
award,
awards.
get two free.
See, I was trying to be nice and you friggin' ruined it. No, I'm joking. No, but we really do appreciate you guys. You made this so much more fun. So yeah, this is my first award show with Fear and Beer, and it was quite a good time.
Yep, and thank you to the listeners. You are the reason why we get to do this stuff. It's very fun. This is really just strictly a hobby, but we're going to try to push forward and create a little bit more stuff for you because we think we got some good stuff to talk about. But you made this season special. Every single time that we'd walk through the park and somebody would point us out and be like, are you so-and-so from Fear and Beer?
I couldn't believe it.
Weirdly, yes,
Yeah.
I am. The fact that you could hear my voice and kind of pick me out of a crowd is still astounding to me.
Yeah.
So thank you.
I
very much.
I won't lie. That, I mean, this year compared to the previous couple of years, I never thought we would get to the point where people would recognize who we were, and I think that's it still blows me away because I'm not famous. We're not famous, but the fact that people do that is just crazy to me. So thank you for doing that. You don't understand. Like, for me personally, again, I don't want to get incredibly sappy here, but like, for me, that brightens my day more than anything else in the world because holy shit, someone's actually paying attention to what I have to say. And in my 35 years on this earth, that's never been the case. So it's awesome to finally like feel like, maybe
we're doing something.
Maybe I have a small sliver on this earth somewhere that, is changing somebody's life or something like that. So yeah, awesome. It's really, really cool. So thank you for being a loyal listener.
Yes. All right. Well, we had a great long season. We had a great long episode. So let's get on out of here. Let's start game planning for the next stuff. But until next time, this is Nick.
This is Abigail Schuyler. The false heart of my thigh.
Oh, okay. There we go.
This is Jamie.
Happy HHN 32 awards season. Goodbye.
Cursed. It's got a death curse.
It's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare.
And again, I would just like to thank Vampire Stepdad for letting us use his music for our intro and outro music. So if you would, just go check him out. Spotify, Facebook. Again, that is Vampire Stepdad.